Senior War Archives Keeper Keth'alar here, documenting what we now call the Great Humbling. Oh, how wrong we were about the little pink mammals. How spectacularly, catastrophically wrong. I'm recording this from my exile pod, drifting through dead space, because someone needs to tell this story. Someone needs to warn the galaxy about what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. You see, we Vorthak considered ourselves the apex predators of known space. Our dominions stretched across 12,000 star systems, commanding 47 different species under our iron fist. We had conquered civilizations that could split atoms with their minds, enslaved races that could bend reality itself. We were the undisputed masters of warfare, diplomacy, and intimidation. And then there were the humans. Oh, those pathetic little creatures from that backwater blue marble they called Earth. They stumbled into galactic society about 2 centuries ago, wide-eyed and stammering like children at their first feast. They occupied a measly 200 worlds, scattered across the outer rim like afterthoughts. Their ships were crude, their technology laughably primitive, their military, well, what military? Every time we encountered humans, they were apologizing, always bowing, always scraping, always begging for scraps from our table. Please, honored Vorthak, might we establish a small trading post on this worthless asteroid? Forgive us, mighty ones, but could we perhaps negotiate safe passage through your territory? We're so sorry for existing in your general vicinity. Admiral Brick's ton used to joke that humans were the galaxy's most successful comedy act. He'd regale the officers' mess with impressions of human diplomats, their voices all squeaky and nervous. Oh no, we don't want any trouble. We're just simple traders. Please don't hurt us. The entire command deck would roar with laughter. The humans always retreated, always backed down, always found excuses to avoid conflict. When we needed to expand our mining operations, they'd graciously relocate their settlements. When our patrol fleets needed to conduct exercises, they'd quickly clear their ships from the area. When we demanded tribute, they'd send it with humble notes of gratitude for our protection. Perfect little pets, we thought. Harmless, useful, and completely dominated. The Vorthak High Command had classified humans as a Class 7 species, barely above primitives. Our xenobiologists reported that they were fragile, short-lived creatures with limited technological advancement. They had no significant military installations, no advanced weapons systems, no strategic resources worth protecting. Their entire contribution to galactic civilization seemed to be hauling cargo and cleaning up after their betters. We were so focused on more serious threats, you understand. The crystalline Nethik in the core worlds were always plotting rebellion. The gas-form Vorlans kept testing our borders with their phase ships. The mechanical constructs were building something ominous in the dark nebula. Humans? They weren't even worth surveillance. Which brings me to the incident at New Prosperity. New Prosperity was a human agricultural colony, population roughly 2 million, growing food crops for the local trade networks. Nothing special, nothing strategic, just another little human settlement minding its own business. Unfortunately, it happened to sit right in the path of our new hyperspace shipping lane. Admiral Brixton's solution was elegantly simple. The colony had to go. I was present at the briefing when he announced the operation. "Gentlemen," he said, his mandibles clicking with amusement, "we have a small pest control problem. There's a human nest blocking our commercial development. We'll be conducting a routine clearance operation." The destruction of New Prosperity took exactly 4 hours. Our battle cruiser Vengeance simply appeared in orbit and began systematic bombardment. No warning, no evacuation period, no negotiation. Even why would there be? They were humans. The survivors, all 300,000 of them, were relocated to processing stations. Standard procedure for displaced populations. Nothing personal, just business. When the human diplomatic corps sent their protest delegation to Vorthak Prime, we received them in the secondary reception hall. Not even the main diplomatic chamber, mind you. The secondary one. the one we used for minor trade disputes and parking violations. Ambassador Elena Vasquez led their little group, stammering through her prepared statement about tragic loss of life and violation of interstellar law. Brixton barely looked up from his tactical displays as she spoke. Accidents happen, Ambassador, he told her, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. Space is dangerous. Colonies fail. Perhaps your people should consider safer occupations than farming in expansion zones. The human delegation exchanged those nervous glances they were famous for. Vasquez cleared her throat and tried again. Admiral, surely there could have been some form of compensation or relocation assistance. Brixton laughed. Actually laughed. Compensation? For removing obstacles to progress? Ambassador, your species should be grateful we bothered with proper disposal procedures. Many of our vassal worlds simply disappear. And that was that. The humans mumbled their thanks for his time, apologized for the inconvenience of their protest, and shuffled out of the chamber like beaten dogs. We never imagined they were taking notes. 6 months after New Prosperity became a crater, High Command made what we now call the fatal decision. I was there, recording the proceedings as always, watching our greatest military minds seal our doom with bureaucratic efficiency. The emergency session was called by Supreme War Marshal Vorthak himself. The aging warlord's bioluminescent patches flickered with irritation as he addressed the assembled generals. Gentlemen, we have a problem. The humans are becoming persistent. General Thekmore, our most decorated strategist, activated the holographic display. Dozens of red markers appeared across the galactic map, each representing a human diplomatic complaint, trade dispute, or territorial negotiation request. They're everywhere, he growled, his forearms gesturing dismissively, like parasites. Always whining, always demanding attention, always slowing down our expansion. Admiral Brixton leaned forward in his command throne. The New Prosperity incident was supposed to teach them their place. Instead, they've tripled their diplomatic missions. Every conquered species is watching how we handle them. Marshal Vorthak's tentacles writhed with annoyance. Our vassal races are starting to ask questions. The Krell delegation actually had the audacity to suggest we should negotiate with humans instead of simply displacing them. Negotiate with pets. Intelligence Director Vasquez materialized his report in the center of the room. Our analysis confirms what we've always known. Humans possess no meaningful military capability. Their so-called defense fleet consists of converted cargo haulers and obsolete patrol craft. Total human military personnel, approximately 4 million across 200 worlds. For comparison, a reserve garrison on Vorthak Prime alone numbers 12 million. The room erupted in clicking laughter. 4 million soldiers to guard 200 worlds? My species had conquered systems with larger dinner parties. General Thekmore stood, his massive frame casting shadows across the tactical display. I propose Operation Final Solution. Simultaneous strikes on 50 key human worlds, targeting their government centers, communication hubs, and what passes for their military installations. Decapitation warfare at its finest. Timeline? Marshal Vorthak inquired. 72 hours maximum. Probably less. Once their leadership is eliminated and their communications severed, the remaining human colonies will collapse into chaos. No coordination, no resistance, no problem. The plan was beautiful in its simplicity. 3 battle groups, each consisting of 24 heavy cruisers supported by destroyer screens and assault transports. Wave 1 would eliminate human communication satellites and orbital platforms. Wave 2 would target surface installations. Wave 3 would handle cleanup and occupation. Director Vasquez pulled up reconnaissance footage of human military bases. Observed their defensive preparations, he said, highlighting structures that look more like civilian airports than military installations. Their largest facility has approximately 30 armed vessels. 30. Our smallest attack group carries 48 fighters alone. We launched the operation on a Tuesday. The irony isn't lost on me now, choosing the day humans apparently reserved for mundane activities to end their civilization. The first reports were exactly what we expected. Human defenses crumbled like wet paper. Their pathetic orbital platforms offered token resistance before being vaporized by our plasma cannons. Their ground installations surrendered after brief, one-sided engagements. Their governmental complexes fell within hours of our landing forces making planetfall. By the end of the first day, we had captured 47 of our 50 targets. The remaining 3 were mere formalities, scheduled for completion within the next 12 hours. Admiral Marcus Kane, commander of the human 3rd Defense Fleet, was captured during the fall of their primary naval facility at Kepler Station. The man was brought before our cameras in restraints, his uniform torn and his face bloodied from the brief battle. His surrender broadcast was everything we had hoped for. "This is Admiral Marcus Kane of the Human Defense Forces," he said, his voice hollow with defeat. "All human military units are hereby ordered to stand down and surrender to Vorthak forces. Resistance is futile. Repeat, all units stand down." The broadcast went out across human communication networks. We made sure of that, using their own systems to transmit their leaders' humiliation to every human world simultaneously. Victory celebrations began immediately. Officers toasted with fermented Vorthak nectar while enlisted personnel shared Conquest bonuses. Marshal Vorthak himself sent congratulatory messages to the fleet commanders. "Gentlemen, you have eliminated a persistent irritation with admirable efficiency. The human problem has been solved." But Admiral Kane wasn't finished speaking. After his official surrender message ended, he looked directly into the camera with eyes that seemed strangely calm for a defeated commander. The tremor in his voice was gone, replaced by something that made my recording equipment actually vibrate with resonance. "There's one more thing," he said quietly. "Tell your leadership they have 72 hours to withdraw all forces from human space and return to your borders. This is your only warning. What comes next is not surrender." The camera feed cut out. The command center fell silent for exactly 3 seconds before exploding into laughter. General Thekmore laughed so hard his auxiliary breathing slits began leaking fluid. Admiral Brixton was practically convulsing with mirth. Even the usually stoic Marshal Vorthak allowed himself a few amused clicks. Did the defeated human just threaten us?" Brixton gasped between chuckles. 72 hours, or what?" Thekmore wheezed. "They'll send angry letters? File more diplomatic protests? Perhaps they'll throw their remaining cargo ships at our battlecruisers." Intelligence Director Vasquez was reviewing tactical displays, his expression puzzled. "I'm not detecting any significant human fleet movements. Their remaining vessels are still in hiding or attempting to evacuate civilian populations. Standard defeat behavior." Marshal Vorthak wiped moisture from his optical organs. "Let it be recorded that the humans maintained their delusions of relevance even in defeat. Quite admirable, really. Pathetic, but admirable." We went back to our celebrations. The human problem was solved, their military eliminated, their leadership captured or killed. What could possibly go wrong? 72 hours and counting. We should have listened. Hour 73. That's when the universe stopped making sense. I was in the command center, updating victory reports for the archives, when every communication board in the facility suddenly went dead. Not damaged, not jammed, just silent. The kind of silence that makes your bioluminescent patches dim with instinctive dread. Communications report. Marshal Vorthak barked from his command throne. Operator Clicks now frantically manipulated his console. "Sir, we've lost contact with Battle Group Talon. Last transmission was a routine patrol update. Then nothing. Equipment malfunction, Admiral Brixton dismissed." Those outer rim systems are notorious for interference. But then we lost contact with Battle Group Fist. Then Battle Group Hammer. Within 20 minutes, 17 separate fleet elements across 12 different star systems had gone completely silent. General Thekmore's 4 arms moved across tactical displays with increasing urgency. "This isn't possible. Our fleets don't just disappear. We have redundant communication arrays, Emergency beacons, automated distress protocols. Intelligence Director Vasquez materialized urgent reports faster than anyone could read them. Sir, we're receiving fragmentary transmissions from civilian vessels in the outer sectors. They're reporting impossible fleet movements. Define impossible, Marshal Vorthak ordered. Vasquez's optical organs flickered with confusion. Human warships, sir. Massive formations appearing from nowhere. Ships our databases don't recognize, using energy signatures we've never seen before. The room went quiet. Human warships? Massive formations? We had already destroyed their military. Show me, the Marshal commanded. The main display activated, showing grainy footage from a Vorthak cargo hauler near the Centauri trade routes. The image quality was terrible, but what we saw made everyone in the command center stop breathing. Ships, hundreds of them, sleek, angular vessels that moved with predatory grace through space. Their hulls were midnight black, absorbing sensor scans like cosmic shadows, energy readings off the charts, weapons systems that made our plasma cannons look like children's toys, and they were all heading directly toward Vorthak positions. Where did they come from? Thekmore whispered. Vasquez manipulated the display, highlighting previous scans of the same region. According to our records, this sector contained only asteroid mining operations. Human civilian contractors working low-grade mineral extraction. I felt my primary heart skip a beat. Mining operations. We had cataloged dozens of them throughout human space. Boring, unprofitable little facilities that barely registered on our strategic assessments. Pull up mining operation files, Marshal Vorthak ordered. All of them. Now. The data filled the display. Asteroid Mining Station Alpha 7. Mineral Extraction Facility Kepler Delta. Deep Space Processing Plant Omega 9. 43 different operations scattered across human territory, all registered as civilian industrial sites. Sir, Communications Officer Clicks now suddenly announced, we're receiving a transmission. Human origin, but it's using our own military encryption codes. That's impossible. How would they? Brixton began, then stopped as the awful truth dawned on him. Put it through, the Marshal ordered. The voice that emerged from our speakers was crisp, professional, and absolutely terrifying in its casual confidence. Vorthak Command, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Human Strategic Fleet. I believe you've been wondering where we've been hiding? Captain Elena Vasquez. I checked my records frantically. Elena Vasquez had been listed as a minor diplomatic aide, someone so insignificant we hadn't even bothered to surveillance her properly. Your asteroid mining operations, Marshal Vorthak said slowly. Captain Vasquez's laughter was like ice cracking under pressure. Mining operations. Yes, that's what we called them. Very boring, very civilian, very not worth your attention. Amazing how much industrial capacity you can hide when your enemies think you're just hauling rocks. The tactical display updated with new intelligence data, and what we saw made my recording equipment actually malfunction from shock. Those mining operations weren't extracting minerals. They were manufacturing ships. Hundreds of them. Each facility was actually a massive military shipyard, hidden inside hollowed-out asteroids and camouflaged with fake mining equipment. 200 years, Captain Vasquez continued, her voice carried across every Vorthak communication channel simultaneously. 200 years of bowing and scraping. 200 years of studying your tactics, learning your weaknesses, preparing for this moment. General Thekmore's bioluminescent patches were strobing with panic. Every trade negotiation. Intelligence gathering, she confirmed. Every diplomatic mission where we begged for scraps. We were mapping your fleet positions. Every time we retreated from your expansion, we were studying your operational patterns. Every tribute payment we sent with humble gratitude, Trojan horse data packages that gave us access to your command networks. Admiral Brixton's mandibles were clicking rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. You played weak. For 2 centuries you played weak. We didn't play anything, Admiral. We were weak. 200 years ago, your species could have eliminated us with a single battle group. But you didn't. You kept us around as pets, as entertainment, as proof of your dominance. You gave us time. The communication channels crackled with interference as more reports flooded in. Vorthak fleets under attack across 17 different sectors. Human ships emerging from dead space like nightmares, their weapons systems reducing our invincible. Battle cruisers to expanding clouds of superheated plasma. Time to build? Captain Vasquez continued. Time to plan. Time to develop technologies you never imagined we possessed. Time to prepare for Total War Protocol Omega. Total War Protocol Omega, Marshal Vorthak repeated. A human military doctrine you never bothered to research, because why would pets have military doctrines? It's quite simple, really. When humanity goes to war, we don't just defeat our enemies, we erase them. Completely. Permanently. We remove them from the universe so thoroughly that their children's children forget they ever existed. Intelligence Director Vasquez was processing incoming data streams, his optical organs wide with terror. Sir, the human fleet composition, it's not just warships. They have industrial vessels, colony ships, resource extractors. This isn't a military strike. This is a complete conquest armada. Every human cargo hauler you've seen for the past 50 years? Vasquez's voice carried a smile that could freeze stars. Disguised troop transports. Every diplomatic courier ship, mobile command center. Every civilian passenger liner, electronic warfare platform. The main display showed updated fleet positions, and the scope of our miscalculation became horrifyingly clear. Human forces were emerging from concealment throughout the galaxy. Not just near their official territories, but everywhere. Systems we thought we controlled, trade routes we thought we monitored, even sectors we considered absolutely secure. You wanted to end the human problem, Captain Vasquez said softly. Congratulations, you succeeded. The weak, pathetic, apologetic humans you knew? They never existed. What you're seeing now, what's about to happen to your empire, this is who we really are. The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, I realized we had made the fundamental error that dooms all apex predators. We had mistaken our prey's survival strategy for actual weakness. The humans hadn't been hiding from us for 2 centuries. They had been hunting us. What happened next wasn't war. War implies some level of fairness, some chance for both sides to achieve victory. What the humans unleashed was extermination with surgical precision. The first indication that we faced something beyond conventional warfare came 18 hours after Captain Vasquez's revelation. Admiral Keth'alar, commanding our second battle fleet from his flagship Dominator, simply died. Not killed in battle. Not assassinated during boarding action. He just died. In his own command center, surrounded by loyal crew. Behind multiple layers of security that would make a paranoid dictator weep with envy. The medical report made no sense. Cause of death, complete neural system shut down. No signs of external trauma, no toxins detected, no evidence of energy weapon discharge. The ship's security footage showed him giving orders one moment, then collapsing the next, as if someone had simply switched off his brain. Within the next 6 hours, we lost Admiral Bex north of the 5th Fleet. Same symptoms, same impossible circumstances. Then Admiral Yorth Akake of the 8th Fleet. Then Admiral QX Lore of the Reserve Command. Our most experienced military leaders were dropping dead inside their own flagships, and we had no idea how. That's when we received a transmission from someone calling himself Commander Jake Morrison. Vorthak Command, his voice was calm, almost conversational. I thought you might be wondering about your missing admirals. Allow me to introduce you to human psychological warfare doctrine. The main display activated, showing security footage from Admiral Keth'alar's command center. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Standard bridge operations, normal crew rotations, routine status updates. Then Commander Morrison began highlighting specific details. Your crew member at Station 7, the one checking navigation systems? He's been there for 3 years. Excellent references, impeccable service record, completely loyal to the Vorthak Empire. also completely human. My bioluminescent patches dimmed with horror. The crew member looked perfectly Vorthak. Proper skin coloration, correct limb configuration, appropriate biological markers. Biosynthetic camouflage, Morrison explained. We've had operatives embedded in your command structure for decades. Every major fleet, every important facility, every critical decision-making body. Your admirals didn't just die, gentlemen. They were executed by people they trusted, people they worked with every day, people they never suspected, because they looked exactly like loyal Vorthak citizens. The implications hit us like a plasma cannon to the brain. If humans could perfectly mimic our appearance, if they had been infiltrating our forces for years, then anyone could be human. The officer sitting next to you, the aide bringing your morning nutrition packets, the security guard protecting your quarters. This is impossible, General Thekmore protested, though his voice lacked conviction. Our biological scanners, our genetic verification protocols, all designed by the lowest bidders, all compromised by embedded human technicians over the past 50 years, Morrison replied. Did you really think we spent 2 centuries just watching you? Every system you developed, every security measure you implemented, every defensive protocol you created, we helped design them. With backdoors, with weaknesses, with fatal flaws that we could exploit when the time came. The paranoia spread through Vorthak Command like a virus. Officers began eyeing each other suspiciously. Routine biological scans became mandatory every 6 hours. Security protocols doubled, then tripled, then became so restrictive that basic military operations ground to a halt, which was exactly what the humans wanted. The Earth Doctrine, Morrison continued, is elegantly simple. Case 1. Eliminate enemy command structure through infiltration and targeted assassination. Case 2. Allow enemy forces to collapse into chaos without leadership. Phase 3. Mop up the survivors at our leisure. Emperor Zal Thix himself called an emergency war council, something that hadn't happened in 3 centuries of Vorthak dominance. The meeting was held in the most secure facility in the Empire, deep beneath Vorthak Prime's planetary crust, protected by energy shields that could withstand stellar bombardment. I was present to record the proceedings, watching our Empire's greatest minds grapple with an enemy that defied everything we thought we knew about warfare. Options, the Emperor demanded, his ancient voice crackling with fury and fear. Negotiation, suggested diplomatic advisor Wexthon. Perhaps we can reach some accommodation. The Emperor's optical organs blazed with contempt. Negotiate? With pets? With the species we were in the process of exterminating? Your Majesty, Marshal Vorthak interjected, our remaining fleet commanders are requesting permission to consolidate forces and attempt a counterattack. Using what leadership? Intelligence Director Vasquez asked bitterly. We've lost 60% of our senior command staff in the past week. Every time we promote new officers, they die within days. The humans aren't just killing our leaders, they're preventing us from developing new ones. The discussion continued for hours, growing more desperate with each passing moment. Every strategy proposed had been anticipated by human planners. Every defensive measure suggested had already been compromised by human infiltrators. Every communication channel we tried to use had been monitored by human intelligence for decades. Finally, against all pride and precedent, we attempted to open negotiations. The human response came from someone identifying herself as General Sarah Mitchell, speaking from a location our sensors couldn't trace. Emperor Zal Thix, her voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. I understand you wish to discuss terms. Yes, the Emperor replied, his pride cracking like ancient armor. Perhaps we can reach some understanding. General Mitchell's laughter was sharp enough to cut through hull plating. Understanding? You destroyed New Prosperity. You murdered 2 million civilians without warning, without cause, without mercy. You launched a genocidal campaign against our species because you found us inconvenient. That was a military necessity. No, she interrupted, her voice dropping to absolute zero. That was a choice. Your choice. And now you face the consequences of that choice. The Emperor's bioluminescent patches flickered desperately. What do you want? Territory? Resources? Tribute? What we want, General Mitchell replied with chilling finality, is for you to experience exactly what you intended for us. Complete eradication, total extinction, the erasure of your species from the universe. But surely, you wanted war, Emperor. You wanted to show the galaxy what happens to species that inconvenience the mighty Vorthak Empire. Congratulations, you succeeded. What you're experiencing now, what's happening to your fleets and your commanders and your empire, this is war. This is what you asked for. The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, I realized we had awakened something that didn't just want to defeat us. It wanted to make us extinct. 6 months. That's how long it took for the greatest empire in galactic history to collapse completely. The Vorthak Dominion, which had conquered 47 species across 12,000 star systems, which had ruled the galaxy for 8 centuries. Which had seemed utterly invincible just 1 year ago, reduced to rubble and refugees in less time than it takes most civilizations to plan a minor territorial expansion. The human technology we witnessed during those final months was beyond anything in our databases. Ships that could phase through solid matter, weapons that could ignite entire star systems, defensive systems that turned our most powerful attacks into harmless light shows. They hadn't just been hiding their military capacity. They had been developing technologies that made our advanced civilization look like primitive savages banging rocks together. Every day brought new horrors. Human fleets would appear from nowhere, eliminate entire battle groups, then vanish before our reinforcements could respond. Our fortress worlds, protected by energy shields that had never been breached, fell in hours. Our secret weapons facilities, hidden in dimensions we thought humans couldn't even perceive, were destroyed by forces that shouldn't have existed. The final battle came when human General Sarah Mitchell's armada arrived at Vorthak Prime itself. The Emperor Vorthaks, in his desperate pride, refused to evacuate. "I will not flee from pets," he declared from his throne room as human ships filled the sky above our capital. "Let them come. Let them see what happens when they challenge the eternal Vorthak Empire." The planetary defense grid, the most sophisticated military installation ever constructed, lasted exactly 17 minutes against human assault. Energy barriers that could deflect stellar bombardment simply stopped working. Weapons platforms that could vaporize moon-sized asteroids fired once, then went silent. Our defense fleet, the pride of Vorthak military engineering, was systematically dissected by human forces that moved like living shadows through space. General Mitchell's final transmission to the Emperor was broadcast across every remaining Vorthak communication channel in the galaxy. "Emperor Vorthaks, this is General Sarah Mitchell of the Human Strategic Command. You have one choice remaining. Complete, unconditional surrender of all Vorthak forces, followed by total evacuation of conquered territories and submission to human oversight. Or we finish what you started with new prosperity." The Emperor's response was everything you'd expect from a tyrant facing extinction. Never. The Vorthak Empire does not surrender to inferior species. "Then you join your empire in history," General Mitchell replied calmly. "What happened next, I don't have words for it. The humans didn't just destroy our capital. They erased it, not with explosions or energy weapons, but with something that made matter itself forget how to exist. Vorthak Prime, our ancient homeworld, the center of galactic civilization, simply stopped being. The Emperor's final transmission was a scream that echoed across subspace for days. Within hours, every remaining Vorthak commander was frantically sending surrender signals to human forces. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for 8 centuries died with its homeworld. But here's the truly terrifying part. The galaxy's other species, the ones who had watched our conflict with a mixture of fear and fascination, suddenly found themselves facing humans who had returned to their old behavior patterns. Apologetic, humble, peaceful. The same species that had just erased the most powerful empire in known history went back to saying please and thank you and we don't want any trouble. They resumed their trade routes, their diplomatic missions, their careful, respectful interactions with other civilizations, as if nothing had happened. The crystalline Nethek, the gas-form Vorlons, the mechanical constructs, they all received the same message from human diplomats. And we hope this unfortunate incident with the Vorthak Empire won't affect our peaceful relationships. We remain committed to galactic stability and mutual cooperation. Some species tried to form alliances against humanity, convinced that the human threat needed to be contained. Those alliances experienced unfortunate accidents. Their leaders died in impossible circumstances. Their fleets disappeared in empty space. Their communications networks suffered mysterious failures. And throughout it all, human diplomats continued apologizing for any inconvenience. I'm recording this from my exile pod, one of perhaps a million Vorthak survivors scattered across the galactic rim. My species, which once commanded the stars, now exists as refugees begging for sanctuary from the very civilizations we once ruled. The humans let us live. That might be the most terrifying part of all. They could have exterminated us completely, erased every trace of Vorthak existence from the universe. Instead, they let us survive as a warning, a reminder to anyone who might mistake their patience for weakness. So let me end this record with the most important lesson I've learned. Never, ever underestimate the species that apologizes while sharpening knives. They've been watching us all along, and they remember everything. Senior War Archives Keeper Keth'alar, final entry, Human Standard Date 2387. The recording ends here.